This is Chapter 18, Module 5, the Pancreas. The learning objective of this module is 1. Describe the location, structure, hormones, and functions of the pancreas. The pancreas is an organ that lies between the inferior border of the stomach and the proximal portion of the small intestine. The pancreas is both an exocrine gland and an endocrine gland, though 99% of its volume is exocrine cells, while only 1% of its volume is endocrine cells. The exocrine cells play a major role in the digestion of macromolecules in the small intestine. We will discuss more of this role when we discuss the digestive system. Only 1% of the cells of the pancreas are involved in its endocrine function. Alpha cells produce the hormone glucagon in response to low blood sugar, and beta cells produce the hormone insulin in response to high blood sugar levels. When blood sugar levels rise, the beta cells secrete insulin, which ultimately stimulate the transport of glucose across plasma membranes of most cells of the body, thereby taking glucose out of the blood and putting it into the cells. In the liver and skeletal muscles, insulin converts the glucose into glycogen to be stored. Insulin also increases the rate of glucose utilization by the cells and ATP production within the cell's mitochondria. In addition to the effects on glucose concentrations, insulin also increases the conversion of amino acids into proteins and the conversion of fatty acids into triglycerides in adipose tissue. Basically, insulin causes the cells to store glucose, amino acids, and triglycerides in the form of glycogen, protein, and adipose, and thereby decreases the concentration of glucose in the blood. When blood glucose levels decline, the alpha cells release glucagon that stimulates the breakdown of glycogen into glucose and the subsequent release of glucose into the blood, thereby increasing the levels of glucose in the blood. Glucagon also increases the breakdown of fat to fatty acids in the adipose tissue. Additionally, glucagon increases the synthesis and release of glucose by the liver. The synthesis of glucose is called gluconeogenesis. All of these things ultimately increase the concentration of glucose in the blood. Diabetes mellitus is a health condition that is characterized by abnormally high concentrations of glucose in the blood that is high enough to overwhelm the capabilities of the kidney to reabsorb glucose. Hyperglycemia is a term given to an abnormally high glucose level in the blood in general. When the kidney becomes overwhelmed and cannot reabsorb the overabundance of glucose, the glucose molecules end up in the urine, and the urine volume generally becomes excessive, a condition called polyuria. Type 1 diabetes is also called insulin-dependent diabetes. This condition is characterized by an inadequate production of insulin by the pancreas. Persons with type 1 diabetes require insulin to live and usually require multiple injections daily or continuous infusion through an insulin pump. This form of diabetes accounts for only 5 to 10% of cases, and it often develops in childhood. Type 2 diabetes is called non-insulin dependent diabetes. This is the most common form of diabetes mellitus. Most people with this form of diabetes produce normal amounts of insulin, at least initially, but their tissue does not respond properly, a condition known as insulin resistance. Type 2 diabetes is also associated with obesity. Weight loss through diet and exercise can be an effective treatment. There are several complications to diabetes mellitus, especially if left untreated or poorly managed. These complications include kidney degeneration, damage to the retina of the eye, early heart attacks, peripheral nerve problems, and peripheral nerve damage. Heart attacks are 3 to 5 times more likely in diabetic individuals than in non-diabetic people. Abnormal blood flow to neural tissue is probably responsible for a variety of neural problems with peripheral nerves. This is commonly known as diabetic neuropathy. When blood flow to the distal portions of the limbs is reduced, the peripheral tissues may suffer as well. For example, a reduction in blood flow to the feet may lead to tissue death, ulceration, infection, and loss of toes or a major portion of one or both feet. This ends Chapter 18, Module 5, the Pancreas.